Help support our coverage using Blueberry, the community that gives creators the ability to make money, get detailed audience measurements, and host their audio and video. Get 30 days to try out the service using promo code BLUBRRY004.
Well, our next guest is here. Hello.
Hello.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing just fine. How are you?
Fantastic. Go ahead and introduce yourself for me.
Yes, my name is Brian Shurcliff. I'm with Timekettle US.
And tell us about Timekettle. I am very aware of your product line, but for our audience who may not be.
So Timekettle, we make AI translation devices that are meant to be worn in-ear.
It's a really interesting take on it because, you know, we see you put the phone down and talk and it comes up and does, you know, text to text, but I don't know. I don't really want to subtitle real life.
Yes, you want to have a one-on-one conversation. In translation, there's always going to be a delay between what you say, and if you have a human interpreter, you know, a intermediary between us,
right.
They need to hear what you said, think about it, turn to the other person, then they have to think about it,
right.
answer, and that process takes a lot of time.
Right.
These products solve that by eliminating that middleman. And not only that, they can also translate more than one language at a time. So if you had an interpreter that could speak 2, 4, 5 different languages at the same time, maybe you could compare it. But these really don't have a comparison to human translation.
Okay. So it is the United Nations in your ear.
Absolutely.
Okay.
At least this device is. This is our X1 interpreter hub.
Okay.
This device has built-in earbuds. Typically,
those
you
are
would
cool
wear.
Looking.
Yeah, they're very futuristic. They have noise-canceling microphones, and part of the secret sauce technology is that they are focused. Like here, we've got a boom mic to get the microphone as close to the mouth as possible. This is using sophisticated technology to just isolate the sound around the mouth so that we're picking up just the speaker.
Okay.
Because if you and I are talking and your microphone is picking up what I'm saying, it's going
Right.
to confuse the algorithms.
Right. That makes sense. That makes sense.
So if you're wearing one of these earbuds, you know, the battery life's 3 to 5 hours. The device itself has 6 to 12 hours. You ever play like PlayStation 5 or anything like that? The controller lasts about that long. You switch it out with the other controller.
Yeah,
and that's
absolutely.
kind of the thinking here is,
okay.
is you can just switch.
Understood.
Have them charge. There's also a button. It's a button. It's really just like a sensor, and that you can use it in a typical, I'm going to speak in my language, and then let go, and you'll hear it in whatever language. We support up to 40 languages, 92 dialects.
Wow. Okay. So you can just, with this guy, you can literally just back and forth, and it'll push the translation back out at you, and then I can do it again, and you can talk into it, and then I can come back at me?
Correct.
Awesome.
Pretty cool.
Okay. And it's not as heavy as I was expecting it to be based on its size and everything that it's doing in here with the headphones. And obviously, there's obviously a charging battery and stuff in here. Yeah, that's a convenient to travel with.
Absolutely. Let me see if I can get it working here. So the different modes that it supports are the traditional ones that even our in-ear work with, and that is the one-on-one. That's where you're going to wear one earbud in one ear, and your partner will wear it in the other. You support 40 languages. Some of them can be offline, so you do not necessarily need to be online. Those pairs are typically like English to Chinese, Japanese, Spanish, German, French, Korean.
Okay.
Listen and play is a very popular mode where you just want to be like a fly on the wall. You put an earbud in your ear. You can put the device close to the speaker and listen in. So my father-in-law uses this in his church setting where he listens to the Spanish service, and he can be an observer. Now, he was going to be at that service anyway, but now he feels like he's a participant and more involved in what's going on there.
Interesting.
The other method is that Ask and Go, and that's where you're using it as a standalone device.
Okay.
This is like the traditional devices in the space started with that. We have, I'm going to skip this newer mode called presentation. You can make a voice call. So if I have two of these devices, you got one in where are you from? Like
Florida.
Florida. I'm in Plano.
Okay.
We can have a phone call through one of these devices. So you have one, I have one. There's a number very similar to a phone number.
Okay.
I can dial in. And then we have UN mode. What I've nicknamed that. I'm gonna coin that. Have a little trademark soon. You have up to 20 devices. And
you heard it here first.
Absolutely. You have 20 devices, and this will support up to 5 languages simultaneously. So the main unit will create the
Network
I'm not on the
error.
network.
Yeah.
Yes. So we've changed halls here. I'm not on the Wi-Fi. The number 1 unit would create the meeting, and then if you want to pair it, all you have to do is use the near field communicator.
Nice.
And same thing with Wi-Fi. Like, so if I had one already set up with Wi-Fi, instead of having to go in and type in the password, I could just sync with it.
Oh, okay.
Pretty
That's
neat.
cool.
Then here you would click that twice, and you can kind of see where there's the 2 units.
Yeah.
That will turn blue to green when it's connected. And now you choose whatever language you want to speak.
Oh, okay.
Speak
okay.
English, you speak French, Chinese.
Understood.
Whatever. Yeah.
And so then you could have a group of people on a meeting, each with a device, and it'll come in and out in their language. Okay.
Correct.
And they do or do not have to be in the same room for that feature?
They need to be within Bluetooth range.
Okay. Okay. So that's Bluetooth to Bluetooth.
Well, they also have to have Wi-Fi. Each have Wi-Fi. But
Okay.
the devices need to be within Bluetooth range.
Handshake for Bluetooth, and then, okay.
So hypothetically, let's say you had several classrooms. These are very popular for English learners, ESL students in school districts, where the school district will purchase a number of these, hand them out or check them out for students. And it's not so much as a language tool. We don't want to make this a crutch, but a tool for them to feel more included in the conversation with their students, their peers. They can do group work. They can listen in on the teacher. If it's a history lesson or a science lesson, these things are excellent at translating academic, medical, technical jargon, basically, very accurately.
So the same question that sci-fi always asks is where the line in translation is, right? Because in the medical field, much of it is in Latin. So where do we find the line between what it should and should not translate? Because there's mountains that are called, if you were to translate all of them into English, it would be mountain.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So how do you guys deal with that, or is it the same sci-fi problem? We're not quite sure sometimes.
I am constantly surprised at how accurately it interprets the sentiment
Context?
The context of what you were saying. And I've seen it just today. Somebody mentioned Cirque du Soleil, but they were calling, like, have you seen the Cirque de whatever? It knew that it was supposed to be Cirque du Soleil.
Okay.
Also, if it's a technical term like a brand name, like Microsoft, it's not going to translate that into whatever that is in that language.
Sure. Okay. So it does deal with context.
Absolutely.
Okay. Fantastic. Anytime you talk about the Star Trek Universal Translator, right? Because there's mountains that are, if you take the 2 languages, it's mountain.
Yeah.
And how does a Universal Translator on Star Trek know where that line is?
It's machine learning. It's what they call neural language processing. But in the machine language, the machine brain we don't really know how it's doing it. It just does it.
Okay.
The same way that
it does find the context.
It will.
Okay.
Yes, it will find the context. I won't say it's absolutely perfect every time.
Of course not.
But it'll get the gist of it. Now, the new mode that we have is very interesting. This is called presentation mode.
Okay.
So presentation mode works in the fact that you have one of these units. The presenter chooses their language, and then they can support up to 2 other languages. So here I've got Hindi and English.
Okay.
Probably change the English to, let's say French. So I have Hindi and French. I'm going to hit start. That's if I had Wi-Fi. It was going to generate a QR code.
I saw the QR
code. So you
code.
probably saw the QR code. You take your own device, scan that QR code, and then in a web browser, it will show you one of those 2 other languages, and there will be an option for audio. So you can listen in or use your own Bluetooth device.
I would say, so I can use my Aftershocks over there.
Absolutely.
Pair them with my phone and listen. Okay.
Support up to 50 participants at a time. We will expand that in the future. The only limitation here is what's the market for that service. Right now what we're seeing is school districts that want to talk to PTA groups or graduation classes where some of the students speak whatever language and their parents are in the hall. So now they can have the parents feel more included.
Got it. You can then take that QR code, people in the audience who the student may speak English and Spanish, but the parents may not, or the grandparents may not, or somebody, so they can scan the QR, hook up their headphones, and they can listen to the graduation in their language.
Absolutely. You know, we're trying
That's awesome.
We're trying to break down the translation and really talk about the connection.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, seeing all my cameras on your Wi-Fi list, it's really funny. The availability on these products.
You can go to Amazon or our website, timekettle.co. This retails for $6.99. Of course, there's always specials and deals.
Sure.
Different times of year. But yeah, this is $6.99. Now we released this actually at CES last year. The W4 Pro is our top of the line in-ear translation device that is based off of our bestseller WT2 Edge. These look like stereo headphones, like you would just go buy it anywhere.
Yeah.
But these are proprietary, meant to use with our application that we have rebranded Babel OS.
Okay.
And that is basically all of the technologies that have evolved around isolating the sound, streaming the audio in smaller bit rates back to the engines, so that's how we cut down the latency.
Yeah, because you don't need it in 192 to do what you're doing.
Oh, think about more like 8.
Yeah, exactly.
We're
out there in 192 for our stuff, but that's because what we're doing is, intended for crisp CD sound, but the computer doesn't need that to be able to do the language processing.
At some point, the audio needs to be cleaned up. So are you cleaning it up in-ear or
at the server?
Yeah, at the server. We're doing it in the hardware.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah.
Very cool. And that's
also the charging.
Why it's specific hardware, and you're not just using any hardware, because it's all about the very specific use case.
Yes.
Very cool.
This will enable simultaneous mode, and then we have our entry-level M3, and that's where I can just share it with you.
Okay.
Very similar. This will allow you to listen to music.
Okay.
So they're just like a normal headphone, but they will allow you to use our proprietary application.
Gotcha. And what are our price range here?
120.
Okay.
Like 119, 249, and these are $449 currently. We will have a W4 regular, which uses bone induction for picking up the sound. We think that might be a more effective way of isolating the voice. It is in prototype stage. It will be smaller than this, about $100 less. So this is $449 and $699 for these.
Very cool. And give the website one more time.
Timekettle CO. If you'd like to know the origins of the name of the company.
Okay.
All right, so I don't know if anyone's here a sci-fi fan. I love Isaac Asimov.
Clearly I am, because I've referenced it several times.
I read the Foundation series, and this book was new to me, The End of Eternity. In it, the Eternals travel through time in things called kettles. They use a language called interdimensional.
Okay.
So that enables people of all different times, not just space, but time to communicate.
Got it. Very interesting. Yeah. All right. I love it.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for coming up and talking to me. Super cool. I think you guys have been on several times in the past, but I've never been the one to get to talk to you, so
that's been a pleasure.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.
Have a good rest of the show.
Thank you. You too.
The Tech Podcast Network's CES 2025 coverage is executive produced by Adam Barker. Technical director is Kirk Corliss. Associate producers are Nancy Ertz, Tracy Ingram, Xerxes Goddard, Brandy Jackson, and Aviva Cram. Voiceover by Aaron Hurst. Our hosts are Marlo Anderson, Don Bain, and Scott Ertz. Studio and equipment are provided by PLUGHITZ Productions. The TPN studio executive is Todd Cochran. This has been a Tech Podcast Network production, copyright 2025.